Hey guys, welcome to another video. And in this video, I wanted to talk about how the best way to honor God is to honor your wife. And essentially, I decided to make this video because I just feel like in this day and age, with so much social media and with how so many things are based on appearances, it can get easy for men to get fixated on looking like a good husband rather than actually being a good husband. And you just see it too far or so often, especially in immigrant communities where, whether it's at parties or big events, the husband will kind of go out of his way to do things for his wife that he doesn't do on a daily basis. And I also think, especially because around when I was maybe in college was when like the whole red pill movement really started to take off, and a lot of us started to look at doing nice things for women is simping over women. And what I want people to understand is there's nothing wrong with doing nice things for women, for going out of your way for women. I want to say that to me, a simp is if a woman doesn't appreciate you, if a woman isn't interested in you, and yet you're still going out of your way to spend a lot of money on her, or you're not working on yourself and you're so fixated on trying to get her to want you or desire you. That's what I think about whenever I think of a simp. So, whenever you're married to somebody, this is someone who has also agreed to spend eternity, to spend the rest of their lives with you as well. And so, whenever I think about that, there's nothing wrong with going out of your way to make sure that she feels appreciated. Whether that means picking up flowers from the store, whether that means planning things to do on the weekends, whether that means just in general, just small gestures, whether that means cooking a meal one night, whether that means helping her clean up after dinner another night. And it's small things like this that will really allow your wife to feel like you appreciate them. It's not always about just telling them, oh, I appreciate you or I love you. Oftentimes, it's also about actions. And this is something that I've had to be reminded of again and again being married, is that I've had to realize that being married, you have to put effort in. It's not just about saying I love you and saying all the right things. You also need to do them as well. And so if we ever have a conversation about how, sometimes my wife has said, for example, she wishes I planned things more often instead of just kind of going with the flow. And it can get easy to be like in the moment, oh, okay, yeah, for sure. And then you instantly forget it. But part of being a good husband is remembering that and being like, okay, cool. So my wife said that she wants me to plan dates more. Okay, well, what's something that we can do? And sometimes a date isn't necessarily about going to a bougie restaurant or whatever. Sometimes a date is just your wife knowing that you put time and thought and effort into planning something, into planning an activity. And sometimes that means taking a walk and maybe like getting coffee and just kind of hanging out and being intentional and spending that time together, being fully present and not just kind of taking her out just because that's what she wants and just to get it over with. A lot of that is about, okay, well, my wife wants to hang out. Okay, well, maybe let me try getting a pedicure. I've never gotten one before, but let me try doing that, because that was something I did, I think, like a little over a year ago. I had never gotten a pedicure, but I was like, I know my wife would really, want me to go. And so I guess we'll just go. And so we ended up going, and it was a lot of fun. And so we ended up just like having fun together. And it was a super relaxing time for both of us. And that's just when I realized that when you're married, it's not just about the grand gestures. It's not just about getting her something for her birthday, getting her something for Christmas, going on expensive dates every now and then. Oftentimes it's about even just smaller dates, the mundane things that you can try to make special. Sometimes it means trying a different coffee shop together or trying a different restaurant together. But those are things that your wife will appreciate because it shows that you put time and effort and energy into planning those things. And that's one thing I've also had to learn is I've had to learn to be more present when I'm with my wife as well. So that way, if I'm grinding, focusing, or working on my YouTube channel or something else, that stops the minute that we're having dinner or the minute that we're spending time together. So that way I can give her my full and undivided attention. And the other reason why it's so important that we honor our wives is because the way that I look at it is God essentially has trusted me with one of his children. God has trusted me to protect and to care for one of his children. And so I need to show him that I can steward this well. Because one thing I've really been big on as I've been reflecting lately is the importance of being a good steward to what we have. And so when you're married, it's important that you respect your wife, that you not lust for other women, that you not, watch porn, because this is something that I've realized in the sense that lust doesn't necessarily have to mean, oh, well, you're thinking about going on a date with another girl. Sometimes lust just really comes in the form of looking at a girl longer than you should. Because oftentimes, as men, if you're looking at a girl longer than you should, naturally you're having thoughts or naturally you're admiring a girl's body when you shouldn't be in that way. And so for me, that's something I've had to realize is super important, that it's important that we not lust after women. Because ultimately, the way that I look at it is if I was to look at a girl longer than I should or anything like that, it's almost like disrespecting God in a way where you're telling him that you're not grateful for the woman that he's blessed you with. Because it's almost like having a lot of money but never being content and constantly being unhappy that you don't have more money. Because there's nothing wrong with working towards making more money, but when you start to become dissatisfied with how much money you have and you start thinking, oh, well, if I had this much money, I would be happy. Essentially, we're telling God that we're not grateful for the money that we already have. And same thing with being married. It's like if you and your wife get into, or have a tough conversation and you automatically go to, oh, well, if I was married to this person, I'd be happier. Or if I was single, I'd be happier. Now you're already starting to have thoughts that you shouldn't be having, and you're not being a good steward of what God has given you. And even though tough conversations are inevitable, it's important that we realize communication is very important. And especially as men, it's extremely important that we not raise our voice whenever we get upset with our wives, because emotional control is extremely important. And it's very important that you learn to master your emotions. That even if you're frustrated, that you learn to communicate your emotions in a productive manner before you yell. And so if that means that if you get really upset, if that means you just need to take a few minutes and take a few deep breaths before you respond, then that's okay. But the reason I brought up earlier what I brought up about the whole thing with being a good husband in private and not, or in public and not being one in private, is God sees how you are in private. And so you might be able to fool people by being a good husband in public, but if you're not a good husband in private, God sees that. And you're not going to be able to get by saying, oh yeah, no, like I was chivalrous and I held the door for her when we went to parties, and I was super nice to her when we went on a double date or whatever. It's like, well, if you're not nice to her, the other 99.9% in the time that you're with her, God sees that. And so it's important that we learn to, the way I also think about it, it's almost like treating a woman like she's a flower, just very delicate, and learning to really appreciate her beauty and just inside and out. Because, of course, when it comes to beauty, it's something that even though it can come and go for sure, it's important that we appreciate the woman that she is, the whole woman, inside and outside, because this is how we learn to build a relationship that goes past just physical intimacy. Because, of course, as you get older, the looks might fade, whatever. But as the looks fade, if you're in love with the whole person, you end up still being able to love her. You end up still being able to cherish her and appreciate her. And so I wanted to make this video, you guys, to talk about how important it is that as husbands that we learn to really appreciate our wives for everything that they are and for everything that they do, because it's the best way that we can bring honor to God, and that it's the best way that we can tell God that we're grateful for the wives that he's blessed us with. Because what we need to understand is there's a lot of men that are single that are praying to find their wife. And we don't want to show God, or we don't want to tell him that we're ungrateful for something that he's blessed us with, that a lot of people are still striving for. And so I just wanted to make this to tell you guys to never get complacent, to never get to the point where you don't appreciate your wife. And so I hope that this video benefited you guys. If this video meant anything to you, please like, comment, subscribe, and share it also with anybody that needs to see it. And I'll talk to all of you guys in the next video.